Right, wrong, and different. We live. At least I think we are.
Yep.
Make sure we're showing up in the group. There we go. Yeah. Pull that up so I can track comments. Right, wrong, and different. We live. I think we are. It's my very own feedback loop. How exciting is that? Hey, we got people. Hot damn. Good evening and welcome back. It's nice to see you guys. We've had a little bit longer hiatus than we'd initially intended, but life and well, fucking life, pretty much. It's just been a little nutty. A lot of stuff going on in the vaposphere. We want to talk about. We're going to talk about a couple things tonight. Kind of our lead-off topic is going to be the Mr. Stuckenschneider. Miss Ashley, how are you? We're gonna talk about the dna250c. That's kind of a hot topic right now. We want to talk about what it is and what it ain't. We'll talk about kind of expectations of what's coming down the pipe with those. We want to talk a little bit about echo. I don't know if we're getting feedback or not. I don't know. I'm not hearing it on my end. I don't know if Ashley, are you saying that the audio is wacky, or are you saying you've had too many adult beverages? Okay, we'll get back to us on that. We'll put a pin in that. We'll circle back to it. The other thing we want to talk about a little bit is advocacy, because I've seen a lot of posts coming up. Oh, lots of echo. Is it coming from? Can you tell me? Is it coming from my side or Donnie's side? I don't know if the I don't know if the audio is carrying. Let me try turning this down a little bit. See if that'll throttle it back a little bit.
Sounds like you're about to announce battle. I'm moving my mic away, further away.
Say something, Denny.
Let me turn you down on here. But my microphone will be showing that it's picking something up. There's nothing showing.
I wonder if it's coming through on my side then. Let me make sure I've got the... all right. Donnie, say something now.
Hello.
I'm wondering if the virtual cable is going to pick it up, if that'll carry it, because I don't think I had the virtual cable on, and that may have been the... That may have been the issue. See if it's getting any better. Okay, is that better? Did we fix it? Okay, yeah, it was the virtual audio cable. That was complete operator failure on my part. See, we haven't done this in a while. Now we're fucking it up. All right, so we'll try. Here we go. So we want to talk a little bit about the advocacy piece as well, because I don't know if you guys have been seeing some of the posts that have been coming up. I've been seeing a lot of news coming across the wire from Larry Faircloth about things that are going on. You know, there's with the budget talks that are going on. There's some scuttlebutt about things that may affect the predicate date. So you know, and again, I don't know that I. Good evening, Joseph Michael Ray. And I don't know that I have any major answers, but the one thing that I will strongly encourage everybody to do is get your information. You know, if you see these posts, track them down and do a little reading. I've been tracing some of the ones that Larry William Faircloth's been putting up, and he's been putting some good information out. And the biggest thing I think that we have as a tool for the community really is awareness right now, and making sure that we're keeping the lines open for everybody, and that we're reaching out to our representatives. So. Before we go off too far on off topic on that, I do want to talk a little bit about the dna250c thing that's coming down the pipe. Some of you guys may have heard about this. It is the new chipset coming from Evolve. It's interesting, and it's kind of a cool. I won't say it's a cool tie-in, but it's a ironic tie-in, I think, to the fact that the FDA are dicks with the fact that they have to call it a dna250c. Because, you know, hypothetically speaking, if someone were to use the international version of the firmware, you would actually have and you're using a 4S cell, like a 4S LiPo or 4 batteries, you would actually have a 400 watt capable device. 3S, I believe 300 watts capable, 2S, 200 watts capable, because of the way that the buck and boost has been configured in it. They've added some pretty interesting new features to it. They've added a preheat punch for non-temp control, which, especially if you're using a bigger coil build, I know, Donnie, I think you and I run some similar builds. When you're using a massive wire build, you need that preheat. You need the extra power on the front end. Otherwise, it's gonna take a few minutes to warm up. It's like doing coil foreplay with your mouth. You're sucking on it for 2 minutes before anything happens. And that can be a little discouraging, especially if you get that ADHD going on. You get distracted and you're like, oh, squirrel. But
the replay function they've got.
Yeah, Donnie, I'm curious to hear what is your understanding of how that fucking thing works? Because I've heard bits and pieces about it, but I don't know that I have a good understanding of what it does.
Supposedly acts like temp control. I don't know how it works, to be honest with you, but apparently it doesn't work with Campo, which is not a huge deal. I mean, most people I think now use Nichrome, which should work. Well, stainless steel work. I think anything but Campo is what they were saying. It acts as temp control, and say you just wick your Addy, and you take a hit off it, like, holy shit, that was a good hit. So you hit the replay button, and it'll save it, all of those settings. So no matter how much your juice is getting lower, like say you're using an RDA and the cotton's drying out, it won't let it dry out completely, apparently. So that's how it's supposed to work. I don't know. I've never tried it.
It's kind of tracking it's kind of tracking resistance level, coil temperature, power that was applied, etc., and kind of trying to make those factors come together.
Yeah.
Well, from what I saw, from what Daniel Batista was saying about it, he seemed pretty excited about it. It seemed to be pretty functional, and I know he was he was chucking like a mug on the video he did with Brandon, and he seemed fairly impressed with it. Now, I mean, granted, that's a pretty limited sample, but if it works like that, I mean, ultimately, I always kind of felt, for me, temp control was a fad. It didn't work it didn't really work well for me with my vaping style. Some people love it. I just know that it wasn't really that great for me. It didn't really suit what I liked. I'm interested to see how the replay works, honestly. I wish, in college, there's a bong I would have liked to have had that replay function on. Well, it's in college, man. We were experimenting. Things happen.
Well, all I know is I'm ready for that board. I want it in this.
It looks like you were prepared.
I am. Got the board over there. I made a few changes to this, so this isn't the updated one.
That's the downdated one?
Yeah, so what I did on my newer one is I actually added a lip to where the board will sit in. And that way when you actually screw the board into it, it's not going to flex the board holder. It'll have more of a structured wall to keep it sturdy.
Chad, it was a phase. It was approximately a 14-year phase, but I got better eventually. Yeah, one interesting thing that we saw with the demo boards on the 250s was, and I think it has to do with the fact that because it's a full color screen, it's a little thicker than the OG version, and because they stuffed every fucking component they could find on that board. I mean, it's got components on it from side to side. I'd be surprised if that thing can't act as a remote control for a jacuzzi or some shit, It's got components all over the place on it, but the initial placement of it was pretty thick. And I know, Donnie, you were talking about having to do some adjustments with to make the actuator sit. And I know Victor over at ATI ended up in the same boat, having to make some adjustments on the board sleds because that. I know the first when I built my tester, I didn't notice massive button rattle. But I did see some other instances where, depending on the actuators, there was a bit more play than people would be happy with. Mr. Mathis, good evening.
Well, Mark.
But it's funny because I have when I started getting into advanced chipsets, I started using the dna250s, and I was pretty. I started using the 200s and then the 250s, and I was pretty excited about those. But I know for my personal style, I found that I prefer the PWM board. Now it's I love the fact that they're adding the capability of running a 4S on it, so you can run it 2, 3, or 4S. With staged wattage capabilities on that. I think that's really cool. I like the fact that it's got the balance. It's got the balance charging built into it. Although as a modder, I do have to put out there that while my personal experience with DNA balance charging circuitry overall, it's one of the very, very few. Like I can count on pretty much a couple of fingers how many of those balance charging circuits on mods I personally trust. DNA is really about the only one that I'll charge with. I've still seen some of those things. I've still seen some of those in the 250 shit the bed, where a model stopped charging completely, and there's at that point there's really nothing you can do but RMA the board. So hopefully they've addressed some of those issues with it, because it's going to be more pronounced with a 4S lipo. You're basically putting it under a little bit more strain, I would think. Even though, one thing I don't understand at all, I don't understand why they didn't go to a USB-C on it. That doesn't make any damn sense to me at all.
Yeah, I wish it was USB-C.
Yeah, that was that left me scratching my head, because even the guys over at Yeehee, when they put their the joystick dildo button mod out, they had USB-C on it. Charges faster. It's a more stable connection. Plus, you can't put it in upside down. I like that. If there's one thing I learned in prison, you don't want to put it in upside down. It never ends well. But that surprised me. They didn't go that route. To be honest, although the board itself looks stellar, and I'm excited to see it, and I'm excited about building them. I love the full color screen. What you can do with it, especially compared to the Yeehee. The Yeehee's customizability is minimal, and those have never been, to me, terribly user friendly from the standpoint of customizing them. It's very rudimentary, the capabilities for customizing them. Evolve went balls out on the theming capabilities. When we started getting ready for our dna250c squonkers, I got into the theme designer, and I've got all that set up. Basically with screens and themes and adjusted and fonts and all that crap. And I think that's badass. Although one thing that does spook me a little bit about those big ass screens, and that would go for the Yeehee as well, with the old school dna250, it's not like there's not a big screen hole there. It's the chances of it getting broken by hitting something are pretty minimal. You'd have to be a pretty damn good shot. Whereas I think the screen real estate on the I am a little concerned about the screen real estate on the 250C, and about seeing broken screens.
Well, when you have your hybrid ones, you don't have to worry about that, right? You're gonna do probably clear screen shields.
I've tossed around the idea of doing it, but here's the problem with that. The reason I avoided clear acrylic screen shields from the beginning was they show scratches so damn easy.
Maybe smoked.
Possible. It might play with it. Another thing I've tossed around the idea of is seeing if I can find a sheet of screen protector, like a large sheet of screen protector, and cut out a piece and actually lay it over that screen to give it a little bit of extra resilience. But the problem that you run into there is you're adding thickness underneath, and that you're going to hit a point pretty quick where it becomes problematic. If you're just dropping something in the aperture, not a problem. If you're putting something in there that sits between the screen and the back face of the board, problem. That's potentially going to be an issue. I tell you though, I love that. And not to go off on a tangent, I haven't even flashed any of my boards yet. But have you seen the new firmware update that Mark put out?
Yeah, I've got it. I've tried it.
What do you think?
I like it. I told him I love it for me, but for the everyday user, I would like to see there be a basic functionality and then an advanced functionality, all in the same firmware, where you can choose between the two.
So like two modes, like nerds and turds.
Yeah, I think it's possible.
Essentially, all you're doing is putting an extra step into that logic tree, because you notice when he posted it up, it's basically set up as a decision logic tree. It shows you kind of how to get to the menu choices and how they branch off. You just put 2 branches up at the front where you'd have a nerds and a turds. Your turds would go to basic, and and then nerds who want to fuck with all the settings. So like you, fuck with all the things, but
Yeah.
because you can. But yeah, I think that I do think it's doable. You just end up adding an extra layer in there. So yeah, Chad said a battery gauge you don't need to read in Klingon. Actually, Chad, on the firmware update that Mark put out, you can modify the battery gauge readout so it'll give you a percentage. One of the options there is a percentage readout instead of having to read Ferengi. So, but it's pretty. Actually, when I saw the picture that Mark put up, I printed out a copy of it because nerd. But yeah, I'm looking forward to playing with that. I just got it down. I just got to put it on something. Considering I only got 2 hours of sleep last night due to my own dumbassery, I decided I shouldn't fuck with anything that I could potentially break today. Especially after I started getting the clumsies and knocking shit over. I was like, yeah, I probably need to just sit the hell down and not break anything. That would probably be the best course of action. So, hey, on a random note, I got to give a shout out to I don't know if John Dunning is watching, but John Dunning turned me onto this. It's a guy that he knows behind English Fog. I'm a custard hoe bag. Sent me a bottle of this custody, and it's killer. I know you're more of a fruit flavor guy, but it's really damn nice. I'll probably at some point try to put we may try and offer it up in the group because if the rest of their juice line is like this, and they've got a lot of fruit flavors, that's some damn decent juice. And then my buddy from Australia, Scott McLaren Gates, the guy behind Zombie Repellent. A while back, he sent me some of his Magic Mallow. It's like a marshmallow vanilla cream, and it's evil. I've actually been hoarding it because I didn't want to run out, and I was talking to him the other day. I said, so Scott, how big a bottle of that do you sell? And he's like, well, you do a liter. I'm like, sweet, let's work something out. So I'm getting a liter. It's good. Donnie, I'm mixed, so I don't, I don't tend to buy a lot of juice, but I was, and I guarantee you I'll buy some of this custody, but I don't.
I stick to one flavor for a while.
So let me kind of float this out to you guys. Do you have any questions? Is there anything about the 250C that you have questions about? I'm not going to guarantee we can answer them, but I know that Donnie's been doing some research on it. I've been doing some research on it. Both of us have got 250C boards headed our way. Donnie will probably have live 250C mods out before I do because I've got enclosures in the works with the Gov. We're going to get some in the works for significant others. I know we got a faceplate reformat going on for the hammers. Although depending on how that sits and how wide the screen cutout is going to be in the hybrid faceplate, may involve making the enclosure just a smooch wider as well to make sure that we protect the integrity of the faceplate. So you'll be seeing some sexy FFM dna250Cs first for sure. I'm not really seeing any comments. Seeing a lot of Chad comments. Chad's a chatty Cathy. I like that. The Klingon thing was a little weird, but I understood the reference, so I guess I can't bitch too much. Donnie, you trying to find Chip? Chip was supposed to join us tonight, but he apparently had to go to Walmart. He was running low on tampons, so he had to go. He had to go stock up a little bit. And on a semi-serious note, any of you, I'm not questioning anybody's religious or spiritual beliefs, but any positive energy that you can send the way of our brother Rob McLeod would be greatly appreciated. He is he's kind of going through some health challenges right now, and I don't know a lot of details, and it's not my story to tell. But what I can tell you is Rob McLeod is a damn decent human being. He'd give you the shirt off his back. Although if you got to look at him with his shirt off, you'd probably give him his shirt back and tell him to put it back on. But all things being equal, any positive energy you can send his way, lift him up in prayer, whatever you choose to do, please do, because he's family, and that shit matters. So, Joseph, when you say is the board a lot bigger on the dna250c? No, it's not a lot bigger than the 75c, or for that matter the 250. It's a little bit longer, or taller rather, I guess, than the 75c because of the need for the balance tap on the bottom. But I think the major difference in the boards is a little bit of width, simply, and a lot of that comes down to component spacing in the screen, the larger screen, the full color screen. Donnie, did you notice a major difference in size on them?
No, just a little bit taller, really. Maybe a little bit wider.
I mean, again,
one thing I don't like about the 250C before even having them, which I told you, it's 10 volts max.
Is that where it caps?
Yep, 10 volts max output.
See, I really thought it would cap at 12.
12 or 14 I was hoping for, but 10 volts with a 4S battery, it makes no sense to me.
Well, no, because they could do 9 on a 3S.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have really expected a proportional increase that would have been in line with that. That's surprising to me. I've heard some people express some concerns that
get in here.
Yeah, he's watching, slacker. I've heard some people express some concerns about the DNA, kind of stealing the show when it shows up. And I mean, as with anything, I've always been an advocate of what I call golden turd theory. The town I live in, anytime a new restaurant opens up, they could serve golden turds and people would go eat there just because it's new and shiny. And you're going to see some of that with the DNA. Now, the DNA, to be fair, has a great track reputation overall, and they're good. Not hating on them by any stretch of the imagination. I like them. I advocate for them, and we're definitely going to be building them. And they're good mods. They're good boards. I know for my personal vaping style, it's not going to replace the NLPWM. Especially not with Mark and his team continuing to push and evolve that. It's not going to replace it for me. It doesn't give me the kind of vape that I get off of that I can get off an LPWM. It doesn't give me that power. So it's a it's a trade-off. The one thing that I think that would be an absolute game changer on the NLPWM would be the ability to charge without removing the LiPo. But the challenge with that is, with a lot of NLPWMs, you're running big LiPos. And to be fair, to charge those bastards safely and effectively, you need an external charger. To put the circuitry required for safe, effective balance charging inside the enclosure, you're starting to talk about a pretty fucking big enclosure, I think. Yeah. I mean, that would be the crux of it. I mean, you could put some wires in there and a plug, and roll the dice, but at the end of the day, when it all comes down, if you're talking about a high-powered LiPo, especially something that's going to run in the 3S, 4S range, and in a lot of cases is 1,800 mAh or better, and some, because a lot of guys are like, how big a battery can you stuff in there? And I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand the need for battery life, but one of the things that I've learned working with Richard Cross is, at the end of the day, you got to find that balance point. And I think, Donnie, you've done this as well. You look at your enclosures and you're like, I could if I packed it from asshole to elbow, I could probably stuff a bigger LiPo in here. But at that point, I'm starting to run some risks about components, impacting the LiPo. Whether you're tearing the pack, or you got to deal with throw on your 510s, shit rolling around. Or to be fair, if a LiPo is too packed in there and like resting against something that maybe has a sharp edge, and God forbid somebody drop it,
yeah,
you got a problem. So it's not always about how much can I. If there's one thing I learned in prison, it's not always about how much can I stuff up in there. Joseph, yes. The NLPWM, from a standpoint of power delivery, if a Rolls Royce and a mech had a love child, that would be an NLPWM. The NLPWM gives you all the functionality that appeals to people, in my opinion, in mechs. The simplicity of it, the raw power delivery. But in a more sophisticated package, Probably the best analogy I've heard, if you compare a DNA to an NLPWM, a DNA is like a 2018 Camaro with all the bells, whistles, airbags, safety features, anti-lock braking systems, anti-skid this, all the stuff, all the electronic interlocks, fuel injection, blah, blah, blah. An NLPWM is a 1979 Camaro with a 4-barrel carb and a blower. When you step on the gas, that son of a bitch goes, period. You better hold on to your underwear. They're going to be in the trunk. And for me, that's probably the best analogy that I've heard. No, and Chad, again, to your point, it comes down to priorities. It comes down to, I'm willing to put up with external charging on a LiPo. If I need to carry an extra LiPo, I put it in a LiPo bag and carry it with me. It's worth it to me to do that to get the performance I want. And it comes, different people have different priorities. So you'll see some people go one way, some people go another. But it's a trade-off, and it as with all things vaping, it comes down to preferences. I mean, at the end of the day, as long as you're doing it safely, whatever works for you, I'm a fan of. It may not be the same thing that works for me. And Mark, it's not true that you never get invited. We actually kind of threw this one together last minute because we hadn't been on for a hot minute. It was time. I'm pretty sure Chip's busted my balls there.
He is.
Funny story. When I started working for Panera, I don't know, over a decade ago, when I stepped into the role as director of training, I guess, and I'll just go ahead and say fuck you in advance because you're going to rag my ass about it. But I have some stock phrases that I use, conversationally, and like the first year, the second year they did this awards banquet, they actually had a fucking T-shirt made with flugalisms. And I mean, it had like a list of them across the back of it. And I was like, you son of a bitches. They were right. Since then I've changed my stock phrases. I try and freshen them up every 3 years. I'm not due for new ones yet. So get used to it at the end of the day. God damn it. Yeah, Chad, I'm in the same boat. I actually keep a DNA on my desk for building. And that's about what I use it for. So I would have to agree with you there. And, I think Chip's actually just stalling. He's I don't
know what's going on with him.
Yeah, he's just going to talk shit while he's trying to get his computer to act right. But that's okay. So we talked. We kind of hit on the 250C thing, and without having him in hand and having a chance to spend a little time with him. I don't know how far we can go down that road, but the other piece that I kind of wanted to bring up tonight, and it'll probably be kind of a quick show tonight, but the other piece I definitely wanted to bring up or circle back to was the advocacy piece. I'm personally of the opinion that part of the FDA's gig is to an extent lull us into a false sense of security. I don't know if they're trying to outlaw vaping or make it illegal, but I do think that they're trying to leverage the tobacco and the pharmacy companies into a position where they can regulate it into a monopoly, to where the tobacco companies provide the shit, pharmacy companies, get it to your insurance company. Insurance company pays for it, and it turns into a big circus. So that's the part that I think that makes me the most nervous of all, because at that point it's a money game. It's a straight money game. It's important to be involved with your local advocacy groups. It's important to be aware of what's going on, not just locally but nationally, and keep your eyes open. If you're not in Larry William Faircloth's Faircloth versus the FDA group, I would recommend taking a look at it, because he actually posts some pretty good stuff up there. I know he's in the process of. He's also campaigning for. It's another position. It's another government position. I think, is it maybe treasurer in West Virginia? He's got something else going on, but he's also been pursuing the lawsuit, and right, wrong, or indifferent, they any voice that's bringing some awareness to the issues, and any voice that's exposing some of that stuff is to our advantage. So. That's adorable. Chip sending us laptop porn.
Yeah.
That's so cute. He's like our own personal leprechaun. But, and I don't want to talk out of my ass any more than I normally do, but if you're not making an effort to be aware and be involved with advocacy, you need to. Because at the end of the day, if they take it away from us, we got nobody else to blame but ourselves. And it matters. You know, if you want to see a difference, you got to be the difference. Chip, that's what the little blue pills are for, buddy. So, but Donnie, was there anything else you wanted to bring up tonight?
Not really, just the FSOV. Oh,
hello. Crushing your head. Oh God, sorry, I squeezed too hard.
no.
Oh, y'all. Serious technical issues. Like my mind, I don't have the patience for it.
Chip, it's nice to see you, buddy.
Nice to see you too.
What'd you get at Walmart?
Groceries.
Oh.
That's a code word for tampons.
I get those from work. Because, you know, Energized runs Playtex and shit.
Do they
Always
really,
75 a box all day long.
do they really own Playtex?
You appreciate that shit when you got two women in the house.
That's crazy. The Energizer Bunny can sanitize your honey?
Yes.
I'll be damned. No
I'm
wonder.
just glad they have the gentle glide because the last one about killed me.
Amen. What? Wait a minute. No sounds.
No sound.
Mark, that's got to be on your end. I think everybody else can hear us. At least I'm hoping. I'm guessing everybody else. Yeah, I'm guessing everybody. Mark, you broke the internet. Damn it. He probably put that. He put the beta firmware on his laptop. I guarantee it.
What the hell? My CPU is at 78% and my memory is at 99% usage.
I wonder if that's Zoom chewing it up, or between Zoom and XSplit.
Never that bad.
May have been an update. They may have updated the shit. But so, Chip, we were yapping about the 250C.
I don't really know anything about it.
Well, but you're fixing too.
Hang on, I'm trying to get this laptop to work. Oh, it's been such an ordeal. I think I'm almost there though. So
I love looking up your nose.
not really blooms. Am I good? Am I good?
No, we're good. Lord, it looks like you trimmed.
Okay. Hang on, I'll just wait a second. I'm gonna back out of here for just a minute.
But Donnie, for what it's worth, I actually got a high CPU warning earlier too, and you know I'm running a little bit of a beast of a system as well. So I'm almost wondering if it's between XSplit and Zoom, if they did an update, and it wasn't as good of an update as they would like to think. We just don't.
Well, my PC does that, like if I don't restart for like a week, because I haven't restarted in a week. So I've had like Fusion 360 up, I've had Photoshop, Illustrator.
You got background knowledge.
No, I turned them off, like I closed them. But I don't know.
I think even if you shut them down, you'll end up with ancillary or associated processes running in the background that that don't shut down properly, or that just chew up memory more than processor typically, but they'll chew up memory. So, but we'll see if Chip's going to get back in here. But yeah, Mark broke his interwebs. But at this point, I mean, like I said at the beginning of the show, we weren't gonna drag this one out too much tonight. We did want to talk a little bit about the 250C and what to expect with it, what's coming down the pipe. Another one of the cool features that I do like about it is you can actually control most of the customization. Once you get Steam loaded and everything, you can actually control a lot of the menus a whole lot better through the mod itself without having to plug it into eScribe. The functionality there is significantly better, so I think that's a big win. But again, it's at the end of the day, damn it, there it was again. It's going to come down to preferences. It's going to come down to what you like, what works for you. I do think the color screen is going to be pretty. It'd be cool, an NLPWM with a color screen. That'd be really cool. Mark, hint, and more LEDs. We do like LEDs.
Oh yeah.
So I think Chip broke his internet too. But
mine's about to be broken. I'm gonna have to restart.
Gotcha. Well, we'll probably just go ahead and wrap it up here, guys. If anybody's got any questions, we're more than happy to try and answer them. If you would throw them up in the chat box, and we're going to go ahead and kind of wrap this up for the evening. Mark Holland, we'll circle back to the giraffe question. We'll get back to that. Put a pin in that. We'll circle back to it. We are going to try and get back kind of on our bi-weekly schedule with this, and start bringing start kind of bringing some of those topics back into the conversation. Oh, do we have Chip? No, we have a placeholder for Chip. Oh.
See that for a second.
Dude, it was like Ginger foreplay. What's that about?
Subliminal messaging.
We just got a tease there.
Oh. Say something.
Nope.
Yeah.
He's probably running on the same platform Mark was. Would be my guess. Nope.
I know what you said. I know you said fuck.
Yeah. That's like Chip sign language.
Go to your settings in Zoom.
All right.
Where the microphone is, hit the arrow up.
I'm going to go ahead and sign us off real quick, and we'll get the technical difficulty sorted out. We need to get Chip's laptop up to speed so we can rock this thing in 2 weeks. The other thing I'd really ask you guys, if you have an interest in a topic or a subject, I know, case in point, Donnie Garvin has reached out to me. We were talking about it, and I'd actually like to kind of get him on here, talk about the process of stabilized wood, hybrids, stab woods. There are a couple people in the community I think that would be fun to include in that conversation. We've talked about getting some tip makers on here, kind of talk about that process. We've talked about getting juice makers back on here again. There are a number of things that we would like to explore topic wise, but ultimately the show's about sharing information, and we need to know what you'd like to see. What can we bring to the table that's going to be useful, that you guys have got questions about. That's a huge part of it, because we can sit here and bump our gums all day long, some of us more than others, but when push comes to shove, what would you like to see? It's that simple. I mean, I'd not only like to see Chip, I'd like to hear him. Well, most of the time I'd like to hear him. Sometimes depending on how mad he is, I don't want to hear him, but
You hear us?
If I see his laptop go flying across the room, guys, I want to say thank you on behalf of the FSOV team. we appreciate your support. We're going to work on getting back on schedule and kind of putting these things out regularly again. Let us know what you want to see. And bottom line, unite, educate, and advocate. Be aware, be involved, be part of the solution. Because when it's all said and done, it's up to us. Exactly what Chip said. And if you don't believe me, listen to Chip. I appreciate you guys. I love you. And really not a damn thing you can do about it. Be good to each other.
Oh.
Uncle Donnie. Donnie just showed up. Donnie, I was just talking about you a minute ago. All right, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Guys, have a great evening, and be the difference.
Yeah, I gotta restart, dude.
All right, we're out.
Late.